Namaste. Welcome to yet another episode of Accomplished Women by Thought Habitat Speaks. Yesterday, we interviewed an academician who has achieved big. And as we said before, achievement is still an understatement to define her achievement. And today, we have a women entrepreneur with us. Okay, it might seem like again we are just jumping into the urban clusters and then interviewing women entrepreneurs in our cities. But our guest today is a little different, even though she comes from the urban cluster. She's been in an industry where a woman would really think about being. She's been handling two businesses together, and still she's a mother of a 1.5-year-old son, and yet she has the perfect work life balance. When everyone of else complain about work life balance, she quite seamlessly does that. So Pooja Bajaj Chadha is our guest today. She began her journey with a graduation in marketing and business management in postgraduate from Barwick Business School, shortly after which she has essayed various roles in leading brands such as L'Oreal, Exponential UK, and Philip Morris. At the height of her career, she decided to give up corporate life to unleash her entrepreneurial journey. Well, we all kind of tend to be in a comfort zone, and we are seeing women who are going beyond their comfort zone and they are trying to achieve. So, Pooja was driven by one sole motive, that is to make the workplace a happy and engaging environment since employees spend half their lifetime at the workplace. And that led to her first business venture, Extra Mile, that engages HR and business heads of corporates to provide solutions that focus on keeping employees engaged and happy at the workplace. Now comes the catch. Apart from Extra Mile, she is the co founder of a family business that makes the iconic Indian brandy. Yes, you heard it right. Indian brandy. That is Reserve Number One Doctor's brandy. So, Reserve Number One Brandy as an idea was conceived by her grandfather, and the legacy has been carried forward by her father and very recently by her. And women in liquor business, of course, we have some people to name, but many would really dare to say that because we're in a very typical country. We're in a country where stereotypes are made. But yet, beyond all that, Pooja has really never considered it a problem. So, Pooja, welcome to our show. And I must really say, in a country where stereotypes are made based on what we do and where judgments are made based on what we do, you really took a daring step to manage two businesses, and you have the perfect work life balance. You tend to make time for yourself, and you're pretty creative. You have a creative venture, and you're really redefining the entire workforce. Hats off to you for all those efforts, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Arvind, for these kind words. But honestly, with the kind of women that we see around these days, the kind of women that I have grown up watching, I feel the things that I'm doing are just simply a stepping stone. There are so many disruptors around us, so many who've broken stereotypes, from initially knowing women as just being in the profession, as we were discussing, of your typical teacher and your lawyer. We have women who are in IT, in gaming, in finance, completely disrupting the professional space. And And as you had an interview, just yesterday about the woman in the making disruptions in the rural space, I think women have completely changed the game. There is no space that women have left untapped. So liquor is pretty much acceptable and universal now. Nothing as exploratory as the others, I would say. But yes, of course, venturing into the liquor industry has been it's been a completely revolutionizing experience. Something very dominated by men. Of course, still a lot of men in the business, whether it's from the sales front or the manufacturing front. Yes, you do see a lot of women in the marketing front as well with the larger companies. We're very small. This is a heritage company, which is Reserve Number One, started by my grandfather, and we're continuing the tradition. We're known as the Brandy people, so we also introduced a new brandy this year called Billingtons. So Reserve Number One is very close to the heart. It's a drink that you would even have had when you were as young, as 1.5 year old or a 3 year old. Your mom would have probably given it to you when you were sick with a cold. So it's although it's alcohol, I'm sure you've even heard the famous quote in Chandni, cognac sharab nahi hoti. That's the perception. The perception is that it's a healthy drink, something that you can have to avoid, especially during COVID times when you want to avoid a cough and cold. There's a lot of opportunity in this space. It's a drink that has a particular perception. So we're trying to break that. We're trying to introduce it to a drink more likable to the youth. A drink that people across the country can enjoy. Right now, it's very popular amongst the south in the south. But yes, we're trying to declutter the space, and also innovate by making it more attractive to the youth. So a lot of opportunities there. Um, to your question on work-life balance, honestly, I don't see it as your typical job and your typical work. When you're passionate about something, it just becomes your life, and that's what was the motive even when I started the first company, Extra Mile. um, as you rightly said, we spend more than half our day at work. In fact, when we were going to office was our second home, and now that we are at home, we have both our homes, office and home, together. So it's a very fine line, that you see now between working hours and non-working hours. So what is it that you can still do to be 100% engaged at work, to be 100% involved in such a way that work is not stress? Work is something that you enjoy doing, and it's just something that flows into your daily schedule. For that, you need to be really passionate about what you do. And with that passion, that's where the company capitalizes on. They bring out that passion amongst the employees by making the work culture fun, by making the work culture an engaging one, so that it doesn't feel like you're doing a 9 to 5 job anymore. It's something that you're doing because you enjoy working, and that's just part of your life.
Really quite inspiring to hear from you. Pooja, and of course, you just told about the passion that you're driven by. But I would just like to get into the detail. At the height of your corporate career, you ventured into entrepreneurship. And of course, as you said, passion was the motive behind this, right? You were so passionate about entrepreneurship, you wanted to explore this, and you were here. But would you like to describe one trigger point where you really thought, "Abhi to ye karna hi padega"? Is there such a point?
See, entrepreneurship was always in the blood, like I said, right from my grandfather's time. My father, my brother, everybody's been an entrepreneur. It was always in the blood. But I do believe that working outside, which is outside of your family business, puts you out of your comfort zone. So it's always a good experience to work, with those who you don't know from Adams, from people you network with from other industries. You're working in an environment where you're not the boss, right? So it's always a great experience to work outside. And there was a point, and I'm surprised you actually asked about it. There was a point where, I reached the breaking point, and I said that's it, and I called it quits. It was an evening where I was sitting by the beach on New Year's Eve. I was not in the country, and I decided that's it. I'm going to go back, fly back, and put down my papers and start my dream company. However, that wasn't really something planned for. I didn't know what I was going to venture into. It was just, I'm going to do something on my own. But there was never a plan about what I was going to do. It was only when I was in my job that I realized the gap. So although you are, I mean, this was about 10 years or so ago, when engaging employees and wellness of employees was that one Diwali party in the whole year, or it was that one vada pav samosa evening that was on a Friday. It still happens, huh? It's not like it doesn't happen,
Yes,
but
yes.
that's not the only thing that happens. Right now, employees are treated as first customers. So they are prioritized even more. Internal customers are prioritized even more than external customers, because when you keep your internal customers happy, they in turn will keep your external ones happier. So back in the day, it was more focus on sales. It was Everything was more sales driven. There was less focus on the passion of employees at work, or keeping them engaged in the organization, or building their skills. It was only from a training perspective. So that's where I realized the gap, that if we're going to be spending about 10 to 12, sometimes even 14 hours at work, it has to be a happy place. It has to be a place where your employees, your colleagues are your family members. You want to be in a place that makes work fun, where learning is encouraged, where learning is fun. Let's compare it to the time that we were in school. What happened? We had friends in school, we had our professors who made learning fun, we had our outdoor time, we had our time to pursue our hobbies, but we also studied. Why can't work be such a place where we also work, but we do get to pursue our other passions, where our colleagues become our friends, and there is eventual growth and learning for all? Of course, easier said than done. I was knocked off the door in the first one whole year of this vision, saying, what is this young 24-year-old girl up to? Why is she trying to change the way India Inc. is engaging its workforce? And I stayed persistent. I took baby steps. Introduced smaller, more acceptable programs that would be more acceptable to the senior leadership. And then slowly, of course, we soon became to know as the Mary Poppins of engagement, always had something new to offer to keep the employees engaged and happy at the workplace.
That's really quite a journey, in fact. And as you said, like, take vada pav on in the Friday evening, or some like chai or coffee along with biscuits on a Friday evening. Those are some of the typical employee engagements that happens in most places. I totally agree with you. If you go to some of the companies, employee engagement isn't even in cards. If you go deeper and see, like, employee engagement isn't even in cards for many companies. you know but in such a scenario, you've really built up customized programs for each company, and extra mile is really redefining the way processes are done you know so would you like to explain about some of your programs that you offer to your clients?
See, honestly, it's when you say that a lot of companies may not be necessarily engaging their employees, it may not be such a transparent or a a checklist activity, but they may be doing it subconsciously. So for example, when a new employee is joining an organization, how warm do you make that new employees feel when they get to know their new team? So before you're joining, let's say you are joining in 1 week, does the organization welcome you by telling you a little bit about the team that you are joining, not just the organization? Wants to know you a little bit better to introduce you to the team that you will be joining in 1 week's time. So that's a little something that you can do even before an employee has joined an organization. That whole time, which is your notice period that you're serving at another organization, where you're prepping, mentally, physically, to join a completely new team. There is anxiety, right? You're anxious about what this new organization has in store for you, whether the culture is going to be something that's acceptable. You do your own research online. There right now, there's so much content available on employer branding on LinkedIn. But still, when an organization does that, there's a lot more personal touch to it. So just like that, at different touch points of an employee life cycle, that's where we introduce engagement. For example, the organization has introduced a lot of e-learning programs for you, and they're pushing you to adopt those e-learning courses. There is another way to do it. There's a way to gamify the whole experience. There's a way to involve families in the whole experience, to give that entire program a more personal touch. So when a family of an employee member gets involved, it's a completely game changer. The organization connects at a more deeper level. The family realizes that this organization cares and respects my family members. So it's a great one. These are small little, call them engagement hacks.
Yeah, that
And
makes a
that's
lot
what
of
we do.
difference, in fact. Yeah. You know, when even if someone from my office calls someone in my family, they get so excited. These are small, small things that really matters a lot and that makes a whole lot of difference. That's quite a big motivating factor, I must say, for anyone.
Absolutely. You're working
So,
for a great organization then, clearly.
yeah. So, and also, you already told about reserve number one doctors, Brandy. And was there really a point when you kind of didn't have a choice that you really had to take up the mantle of Doctor's Brandy ahead? And despite all the typical judgments, as I mentioned earlier, so breaking all the typical judgments and everything, you are still continuing in that. And would you like to explain your experience in Doctor's Brandy?
Sure, of course. So there is nothing that is binding me to the family business at all. In fact, I have an older brother, and it was open to him too. I actually grabbed it. If you see my experience, I've also worked with Philip Morris, which is a tobacco company. So a lot more judgments there. Liquor, not so much. If you had to compare the two, but anyway, that's keeping the jokes aside. That the brand that we have is a heritage brand. It is known by your grandparents. I mean, it's a brand that is there in every household. It's a brand that is respected so much in the market, for the lives that it has saved, for the difference it has made to the health of so many people. It is to just be associated with such a brand, um, is such an achievement, for me, because it's just fallen in my lap, because of my grandfather. And now, because there is so much talk about vocal for local, and Indian brands being introduced in whiskey, in gin, and the entire market moving towards choosing more Indian brands over international brands. There is so much opportunity in the brandy space. Why go after the cognacs of the world, which are so steeply priced, when you have an equally great brandy available and built from the grapes of India, which are actually known and exported outside. So it's So one, of course, it's such a great brand that I had to be associated with and continue the legacy. uh, Eventually this is something that I would like to continue and have even my son continue the same legacy. It's about 40 years that we've had this brand now. So my role in this organization is to grow the market. The brandy market is just about 2%, which is the premium brandy market. So how can we grow this market even more? How can we attract the youth to drink, maybe in the tall glass through cocktails, if not, as a nightcap that our grandparents would do. So it is a whole culture shift, and that itself is such a big challenge, to take up. Look at what gin did. Gin was known to be a drink that you would have when you had malaria. And this was about 50 years ago. And now you look at gin, it's a drink that you enjoy not just in the winter or the summer. It's an all year round drink. You enjoy it with water, you enjoy it as a cocktail, you enjoy it on the rocks. We're looking at building such a great success story even with brandy. And of course we will it'll have a market on its own. It's not something that a gin drinker we can move to brandy, or a whiskey drinker cannot move to brandy, or a vodka drinker cannot move to brandy. You can have gin and enjoy a brandy. You can have whiskey and be a brandy drinker. It's you just have them at different times in the day. You just enjoy them more differently.
A
So
friend
that's the
of mine.
kind of opportunity. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Please go ahead. Please go
No, no, please tell me.
ahead.
I would love to
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
your story.
No, in fact, like a friend of mine used to tell me, the one who chooses to drink brandy and a whiskey together is someone more sophisticated. That way I always tried to drink brandy as well as a whiskey separately,
Oh,
though. I mean, not both in the same occasion, but in separate occasions. And yeah, I would definitely love to try your Reserve and Doctor's brandy one day or the other.
absolutely. So we are present, on Living Liquids. We're present in most of these online delivery booking, apps. Feel free to grab a drink and tell us about your experience.
Of course,
In
I
fact,
would
the
love to.
way consumers have been having brandy has been really, surprising us. So some are enjoying it with hot chocolate. Others are, enjoying it with desserts. Some others are cooking with it, just like how you would cook with wine. You're making chicken or fish with brandy. So
Yes.
we're seeing such innovative ideas from the consumers, that itself is giving us so much opportunity to tap.
That's really great. In fact, cooking potato curry with brandy is kind of, it gives a beautiful punch to it. If
I
at all
have to
you've
try
not
this
tried it,
one.
you must try.
This again is a great learning for me. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. This is one I have to try.
So, the next question is, in your entire career, like, is there one I mean, I'm sure there must have been one, because entrepreneurship in itself is a big challenge that we take up. We come out of a comfort zone and we take it up. But there should have definitely been one challenge which you had to face to reach to this level in your entire career. Would you like to describe one such challenge?
See, there of course have been several different challenges, along the journey. However, the most critical one I see right now, is just been managing time. Managing time between both businesses, with my, 1 year, 1.5 year old, managing working from home, which has completely changed the way we work now. So yes, this has been one critical challenge where I've had to, um, you know, assign definite roles. I've had to, hire, a more efficient team to handle both the businesses. So a lot of learnings also in the last 1 year, to battle all of these several challenges. But there has been one trick, the way I have done it. There has been one trick. So there was somebody who once told me, a mentor while I was at work. He once told me that the best way to manage your time is to first wake up in the morning and get done with those tasks that are dependent on you but conducted by others. So, in that case, when you are completely done with the tasks that are actually to be done by others, you're free to do what you want the rest of the day. So I have been following that. That is the art of prioritization that I have been following, where I first get up in the morning and get done with everything that my team is dependent on me for. It takes me a few hours in the morning, and that's about it. Then I have the rest of the day to plan in terms of how I want to spend it.
That's really quite a good entrepreneurial lesson. I must really try doing it in my daily work, and my entire day will get more better with that. And Pooja, would you like to tell us more about your personal life, maybe about your son? And I'm also aware that you have a pet. So would you like to talk about them a little bit?
Well, I mean, I don't want to bore anyone with this. Of course, everybody has, tons happening in their home. But yes, I think having a pet has, been quite a blessing. I've always grown up with a pet in my life, and now I'm giving the same experience to my son. I would advise all the parents out there, if you have an opportunity to have a pet in your life, definitely, bring one. It completely changes the way your child looks at life completely. And I think that's a great experience. Also, um, over the last 1 year, I'm sure everybody has had several battles that they have tried to win during the pandemic. We've all had different kinds of role reversals at home, with everybody chipping in and playing different kinds of roles, men doing things that they haven't ever done before, women continuing the things because we just always do those things that we always do. But let's be appreciative. Let's be grateful. It's the occasion of Women's Day, when everybody focuses on how great and how inspiring women are. Honestly, I think this is the time that women can give back and share the gratitude, because we wouldn't have been able to be where we are without the support that we have at home. So let's be grateful and share that appreciation with those who have supported us.
That's quite thoughtful of you to say that, in fact. Yeah, and Pooja, it was really a great conversation with you. And you know what? You people like you are really I mean, it would be a more of a flattering thing to say, but I must really say it's really a true inspiration. I mean, not only for women, even for men to grow, even for every individual out there to grow. you know Such bringing out the perfect work life balance and giving back with gratitude to your loved ones, and still taking up family legacies ahead. That's really wonderful work out there, and I wish you all the best for all your endeavors. And next time when I take an interview of yours on the same channel under the same series, I'm sure that I'm gonna see a different person with more ventures in hand together.
Well, let's hope so. We're counting our blessings. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time.
Thank you so much.